Good morning. Welcome to Leavenworth County Commission. We will begin with a Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good morning. We'll take the roll call. It starts with me today. I'm here, and Commissioner Dove is here. Commissioner Reed.
Here.
Mr. Culberson. Here. Mr. Smith. All the commissioners are here. Take a moment of silent prayer. Thank you very much. Now, public comment. If there's anyone that wishes to bring a public comment, please come forward. Give your name and your address.
Good morning.
Morning.
My name is D. Carl Skent, and I live at 24542 Cantrell Road. I spoke to you last week about my background in pharmaceutical sales and what a glossy sales brochure is used for. In big pharma industry, the glossy sales brochures have to have cited scientific sources on the glossy sales aid or brochure by law and approved by FDA. Last week, I found 4 such glossy sales pieces laying on the table behind me, 2 from Evergy and 2 from Cloverleaf, specific to Blue Stem. Many claims made that many of us have addressed concern in our public comments. These claims are not backed by references, details, or scientific studies. I went to Cloverleaf Blue Stem webpage to see if they had them, and they did not. Just the same talking points. More to the point is the constant change of what is really going on to be built. First, I heard the size data center was proposed 500 megawatts. Then Aaron Ballou on March 18th in his presentation indicated the size to be 650 megawatts. And more recently, he was quoted in the Lawrence Journal World that the size would be 1.2 gigawatts. On March 18th of 26, I and many others were under the impression the amount of land to be purchased would be 500 acres. In talking to Kelly Detmore, personally, she confirmed they changed it to 1,000 acres. The Evergy brochure indicates acreage needed would be 10 to 250 acres. They also indicate that they usually locate near existing infrastructure, which minimizes local impact. So why are landowners being approached for 34 acres of easement to run power lines? Project Blue Stem brochure indicates 50 jobs. The industry average is 20 per building, and not all are high paying. How many buildings are planned for 200 employees, which is on their webpage, is now the number. That computes to 10 buildings. Closed loop system may use less water. Nothing on the brochure addresses the amount of water used for electrical cooling. According to industry experts, Europe has the only true closed loop system that uses much less. No regulation forces U.S. data centers to use a truly closed loop. But again, the details are left out. This hinders your concerned constituents finding the facts. Several of you voted no pause to fact find and become educated. What do you know that is not being shared? Until you know what fact find, how can you compare apples to apples? Until a few days ago, I actually learned that backup generators will be natural gas. Both style of generator create noise and hum. Neither are good for the environment. Is tonal noise going to be studied, and why is it not being talked about? According to Blue Stem brochure and Kelly Detmore, will comply to Tonganoxie noise regulations. Well, Kelly told me on March 18th she was surprised at the lack of regulation in Leavenworth and Tongi. She indicated it would not be hard to comply because there's nothing to comply to. Where is the water coming from? I have heard where it is not coming from. Will there be a hydrogeologic study conducted, and will it be someone neutral? Will the results of all the studies be published to the constituents to review before a vote? What will the water demand at full build-out during the hot summer? With all these questions and no answers in the glossy sales brochures and website, I was taken aback to find out that a commissioner who I thought should remain neutral until facts have been collected, approved, and signed contract passed out Cloverleaf information and Evergy brochures. I feel this is really an unethical practice. In closing, I am again asking for a pause and not to move forward until you have thoroughly researched, received answers, and know that no human or animal will be harmed by the Blue Stem project, and that you will see $358 million tax relief dollars over the next 30 years. Any smart business person would not stay and pay sales tax after the gift of SB 98 for 20 years. According to Aaron Ballou on March 18th, in 10 years, the data center will fit in this podium. So ask yourself, why would the company stay past 6 years when they will only need 1/4 of the building proposed and continue to pay taxes on the entire building? My MBA education helps me understand this. I hope you understand it as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Additional public comment.
Thought you were going to talk. Morning, Jim. We'd let her talk. Yeah, we would.
Good morning, Commissioners. Jim Carlskent, 24542 Cantrell Road in Tonganoxie. I want to speak today about something that should concern every citizen in this room: the relationship between county leadership and private developers, specifically the perception that a county commissioner is working alongside Cloverleaf to persuade residents to support the project. Let me be direct. County commissioners are elected to represent the people, not to advocate for private property. And I'm referring to, as my wife mentioned, these handouts that were done. Here I've got the projected financial and the other on for Project Blue Stem that were passed out, and even some passed out at the Republican Party meeting last Tuesday night. When residents begin to feel that their elected officials are helping sell a project on behalf of the developer, it raises questions, serious questions, about impartiality, transparency, and trust. Whether the perception is accurate or not, the damage to public confidence is real. Cloverleaf LLC has its own interest. That's expected. They're a business. Their job is to promote their project, highlight benefits, and minimize concerns. But that is not the role of a county commissioner. Your role is different and more important. Your role is to ask hard questions, scrutinize claims, protect residents from unintended consequences, and to ensure the decisions are made in the best long-term interests of the county. Not to persuade us, not to advocate for a predetermined outcome. When a commissioner appears to be coordinating messages, encouraging public support, or shaping the narrative in favor of a developer, it blurs a critical line. It makes residents wonder what is being represented here. Because right now, many in this community feel like they're being managed, not heard. This is especially important with a project of this scale, where the impacts on land use, infrastructure, water, taxes, and quality of life will last for decades. We don't need persuasion, we need protection. We don't need marketing, we need oversight. We don't need decisions made behind the scenes, we need full transparency in how information is shared. Who is informed in these conversations and what commitments, if any, are being discussed? So today, I'm asking you three things. First, be clear from the Commission that you will remain neutral arbiters, not advocates, until all facts are independently verified. Second, full disclosure of any communications or coordination between county officials and Cloverleaf LLC related to public outreach or messaging. And third, a process that puts the residents first, including independent analysis, public input that is truly considered, and the willingness to slow down if key questions remain unanswered. Trust once lost is never regained. You know, and I've got a little bit of time left before I conclude. In this one specific sheet that was passed out, Blue Sim Data Center, estimating real property tax revenue. Folks, come on now. This is put out by Cloverleaf. It talks about $358 million over 30 years. As my wife indicated, you know, Aaron Blue indicated when he was here, they wouldn't be here if it wasn't for the SB 98, the corporate welfare giveaway that the Kansas legislature provided. Giving billions to billionaires is hard to understand. So 20 to 30 years on this should be dropped off, because when it's gone, they'll be gone. So, and also, how long is it going to take to get things rolling? You know, it bewilders me that there isn't more facts being displayed. The only reason that a city or a county would want this project is for the dollars. And I'll have to give Bluestem credit. They are throwing dollars at people, and the dollar signs are just making people crazy. So, in closing, as I said, trust once lost is almost impossible to regain. Right now, you have the opportunity to reinforce that trust by demonstrating independence, transparency, and accountability. Please remember who you work for. Thank you.
John.
Thank you. Additional public comment.
Richard Paz, 17715 Michaels Road. I'll try not to beat the dead horse of the apparent observation of folks getting special dispensation for their projects who haven't even come before our planning board process. I want to build a massive barn dough. My neighbor and I might not like it, but if I do one of these, can I bring it here? And this is before I even have the idea to set conditions. I would just ask that the board publicly acknowledge that previously distributed materials does not represent the full fiscal and legal context relevant to Bluestem. It doesn't. I've checked their work. They have no interest in telling you the full fiscal picture of this. You're talking hundreds of millions. I mean, I can't deny that. There's potential for property tax, but compare it to the billions that our legislature has made it so we can forego all of that money. And in the data center and the AI community, scale is one of the buzzwords. We who work in hundreds and thousands of dollars cannot understand hundreds of millions, yet alone billions. And just because it's legal by SB 98 does not make it right. So I would hope you'd also adopt a policy that developer-prepared promotional materials will not be distributed at these meetings before a formal application is filed, because if that's the case, then anyone who has a proposal before planning development can do the same. And I think it would behoove us to provide an independent fiscal and procedural review before any further county support, endorsement, or facilitation is provided. Now, we've already provided elements that the fiscal notes from the legislature were not carried forward. It started with Senate Bill 51, which was presented at the request of a high-tech lobby, Net Choice. That's how they got it on the docket. And then, as you know, a bill that was designed to make a commemorative license plate for Route 66 became the shell for SB 98. And I can provide you our independent analysis, and if you do believe in AI, and I embrace that, we should use the tools before us, then you probably would think this is pretty thorough. So again, the elements of what money is saved, and when I say money saved on Cloverleaf's behalf, that becomes profit, which is foregone fiscal revenue from the state. We're not asking to tax more, just pay what you owe. We do. Property tax owners do. And they have to understand the relationship between why the state says we have a fiscal crisis when in essence it's being engineered through our legal system. That's how this turns, and that's why we need the full picture on what that means. So compare $300 million, again, they don't have any footnotes, they don't check on how they've calculated those things. Is it based upon taxing the hardware, which in Virginia that happens, but not here. We've already talked about that. And ultimately, who pays the difference, again, is small business owners and residential property tax. Residential property tax is fighting above its weight. That's why. It's not because we're spending too much. I know the pressure you guys face and the criticism, but you know a lot of that is a function of the legislation that's passed, because it starves you of revenue. And then, again, property tax is the means by which we're paying the difference. And that has to stop. But again, I know that's not in your power to do necessarily, but please don't add more pressure to the trigger to us on completing what's already been started that was beyond our ability to vote on because it was done through the legislative process. So again, our estimated ranges are between $7 to $20 billion. That's 1,000 millions. And again, if you're going to do studies on this, the fiscal picture, it would be great to have an independent analysis of that. Our group could help provide that, but we've seen this before, and I would just share some notes from Adam Smith again, who is the chairman of the House Taxation Committee, and he said, "We've passed tax credits for aviation, angel investors, and others, not to mention incentives for going massive amounts of current and future revenue for things like Panasonic, Kansas City Chiefs, and now data centers." Folks are protesting in Missouri right now. They're breaking ground. It's too late for them, unfortunately. We don't want to get to that part. We just want you all to represent us. You swore an oath to the state to the Constitution of the state and to the United States, and your duties are to, serve the welfare and safety of us. So I would hope you please would do that. Thank you.
Thank you.
I have follow-up. I received this document, but what you're saying is the numbers on here, we don't know if they reflect the cost of infrastructure within the
Right.
data center where they are taxed in Virginia.
Correct.
And that would
Yes.
contribute to this number, but if they're not taxed in Kansas, then this number would have to be adjusted.
Yes. In a word, in a sentence, show us the math. They don't show the math. But neither did the legislature, unfortunately. And that's the hard part to take. And we have the math, our math, we can compare it, but no one's doing the math. They're just projecting based upon what's favorable to get this project through. I understand it's in any business's interest to show what's in their interest. And what's not in their interest, they wouldn't show that. But
So when we're
the math.
distributing something like this, we have no way of knowing. if
No, we
this
do
is
not.
accurate.
And I checked the sources. The sources aren't listed in there. But I have checked, still working through Senate Bill 98. But I know the history of 9851. And also, I would ask folks to look at the consensus revenue reports. That's a agreement between the legislature and the governor's office and her econ financial folks, and they come up with an agreement on what the revenue projections are. And if you look at the revenue projections, again, I think businesses aren't leaving, but if you look at who's getting the tax break, the forecast for income tax from corporate elements are decreasing from 26 to 2027 in double digits. So if people want to ask why you're not getting a property tax break, that's one of the reasons too. And it's built in. So again, when someone says we have a fiscal crisis, we're going to go into the red in 2027, well, it's been engineered. It doesn't have to be that way. So please, any politician who talks to you and says that doesn't know what they're talking about, in my researched opinion. And again, unfortunately, the county commission is paying that bill too. I mean, I know you guys know that, and you get a lot of criticism, but I guess what I was saying is you can be part of that solution.
Thank you. Additional public comment. Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning.
Brian Morley, 23947 Chieftain Road. Everything that's been said, it's like obviously I'm terrified of the amount of cash being flown because everyone thinks it's some kind of big moneymaker. I today have to advocate for the nature on this spot. This is not vacant ground. That is what the perception is. It's certainly to the data centers. My gosh, look at this big vacant ground. Great for us. The amount of species and animals on this piece of land is staggering. There are scissor-tail flycatchers. There are river otters. There are cougars. There are hummingbirds, bluebirds, indigo bunnings, orioles, the whole life just from the ground down 24 inches is amazing. This has never seen a plow. It's virgin ground. It's one of the rarest ecosystems in the entire planet. This is not vacant ground, okay? The animals before cattle were buffalo. They take a specific ground, they use their hooves while they're foraging, and certain animals and plants need all that. We got rid of the buffalo, but we switched with a very similar bovine. Great. The ground has never been plowed. It's virgin. This is beyond a travesty. I can't even tell you. When I go out at night, and you can all say, well, this isn't really what we're talking about. We're talking about like huge sums of money. It's like you have to have a certain ecosystem for fireflies. And you can say, well, gosh, let's just write them off. They don't matter. They are the canary in the coal mine for every other species. This has to, when you develop a piece of ground, and I know we're all like, let's not scare them off by saying we don't want any development. Even if you did a neighborhood, there are verges around neighborhoods, around small buildings and small manufacturing. There's still green spaces. This eliminates forever everything. Our entire town can easily be fit inside one of these buildings, and there's going to be more. There'll be a full complex of buildings. So I'm like, okay, so no one is talking about this at all. I know it must be just so inconsequential that we are killing the God-given, God-created Earth right before us. To do what? To facilitate an AI like monster that's recreating fireflies and bluebirds and all the stuff that's like, wasn't that an amazing video? It's so amazing. It's like, yeah, it's not real. We live in the real world. You all should be protecting our real world assets, our groundwater, our air. If anyone was driving here on 7, the 40 minutes it takes to do that, and was stuck in traffic, who took in some diesel fuel and bits? I sure did. I was coughing in the car. I'm stuck there going, this is the next 10 years minimum of my town. I'm being stuck in this, with diesel fumes, with noise, with being late for work, with having to leave 45 minutes early just to get on the goddamn highway. I'm very, very worried about all this. I am sorry. I apologize to all of you. And I'm trying to forgive you who voted against this whole community that say we don't want this. You represent us. We are horrified. And in my heart I'm going, you cannot hate. Last week I cannot tell you, if you guys, your ears weren't burning, your body should have been burning because there was so much anger. I'm going, I want to forgive so that I don't have to go to bed feeling like, I want the worst. I want everyone to have peace in their life, and I want our town to be peaceful, and most of all, I want us to protect the wildlife that is our responsibility. We are the caretakers for this world, and this is it's an abomination. It is so horrible. And the money is just ridiculous. It isn't, it's like we know it's all going to get siphoned away, and half of the money doesn't even exist. We will not see it as a community. It'll just destroy our community. And I know this beyond a shadow of a doubt. If you guys don't realize that, I don't even know what to say. It's a nightmare. It's a nightmare. I mean, literally, our state bird, or all these things thrive on this land. It's a very specific environment. Anyway, thank you for listening. I really want you to do the right thing for the community and for the people that live in the community. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Further public comment, additional public comment. Come on down.
Hey, Leash Mine.
Good morning.
Good morning. 208 South Main Street, Lansing, Kansas. The only thing I really have to say today, because I've said a lot of things online, I know I've presented some things to Mike about the data centers, which obviously didn't mean anything. Anyway, I'm just curious. I am just curious. It's my time.
Well, it's your time, but don't accuse me of something I've done. I'm paying attention to everything that's coming in.
So I just said it wasn't important to you.
Please, it is very important to me.
So from there, I just want to know, from those of you that did not vote for the moratorium, how many of us have to contact you? before our values are put ahead of what you think is good for us? At what point does this commission sit and respect the people of the community? I mean, how many? Put a number out there for us so we know. Because I want to know what you're going to vote for. I want to know who you're going to stand up for, whether it's going to be yourself, or if it's going to be your community, or if it's going to be for a corporation. And you know what? I didn't even know one of you was passing out paper, propaganda from the corporation. Is that misconduct? Can we recall you for that? I think it's time we all start thinking about how we're going to hold our commissioners accountable for what they do. So I'd like a number from each one of you. How many of your constituents have to contact you before you decide that we are the ones that you are here to represent, and not yourselves, and not corporations? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Additional public comment.
Good morning.
Morning.
Good morning.
Harlan Wickstrom, 23947 Chieftain Road. I was here last week and I spoke, and I did say one thing that I would like to repeat, because I think it's so true. I think you are being charmed by people whose job it is to charm people. I know you've been working really hard on this deal. I know you're proud of it. I know that you think millions of dollars coming to Leavenworth County is a big win, but I'm afraid you're not reading the room. And a funny thing's been happening in the last couple of weeks, because we've been organizing, and it's been really kumbaya. It's been really easy to organize, because it's happening at a national level. We have people reaching out to us from all over the country. And it's really easy, and the enemy of my enemy is my friend. So all these diverse people are coming together with one thing in mind, one goal. And that is to stop billionaires from taking our water. That's what it is. So the other thing is, when I say you're not reading the room has gotten so much bigger. The room is not Leavenworth County anymore. The room is America. Americans are mad. They're an angry mob. They don't want this. It's amazing. We have lawyers reaching out and offering their services for free. When does that happen? When does that happen? We have filmmakers. Who wants to be a villain in a movie? Because it turns out we can arrange that. It's crazy. So this particular center, this is the mother of them all. This is a mega thing. This is a 20-pound baby born to a B cup. This is a giant suckling teat. So if you don't care about pet animal highways or migration or topsoil that's gone forever or aquifers that are drained, by the way, I do really want to say that antifreeze is a poison. Antifreeze is a poison, especially if it comes in tanker trucks. So, you know what? If you don't save us. Don't save us. If you don't care about us, if you don't care about the land, if you don't care about the future of Kansas land, don't save us. I'm just saying, save yourselves. Save yourselves. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Further public comment. Mr. Grinter, good morning.
Morning. Ted Grinter, 15991 238th Street, Tonganoxie. Everybody before you didn't say everything I want to say, but I never can get it straight. I watched you guys, and I watched the video from last week because I had to leave. And a couple of you were laughing during the meeting. I'm not going to say names, but it didn't look very professional. It looked like you were this is just something that, it's just going to go through anyhow. We take this very serious. This is not a laughing matter. So if you want to smirk or laugh, do it behind closed doors. Don't do it in front of us. The water that they're going to use is more than we can handle, or what they get rid of is more what we're worried about. And like everybody else here, we have more important things to do than come up here and beg you to get rid of this thing, to put it on a moratorium at least. I should be in the field planting corn right now, but here I am, taking an hour or maybe 2 out of my day to come up here and try to get you to slow this down. I'd appreciate it if you would. Thank you.
Thank you. Further public comment? Come on down. Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning.
Thank you. I'm just going to read SB 98. I know everyone knows about it, but I'm going to read it. Providing a sales tax, I'm sorry. My name is Elizabeth Groff, 20757 Stillwell Road, Linwood, Kansas.
Welcome.
Okay, thank you. SB 98. Providing a sales tax exemption for the construction or remodeling of a qualified data center in Kansas and the purchase of data center equipment, eligible data center costs, and certain labor costs to qualified firms that commit to a minimum investment of at least $250 million and meet new Kansas jobs and other requirements. We didn't get to vote on this at least $250 million. SB 98 that got pushed through. Sadly, my representative and senator did vote for it. 85 yeas, nays 37. For the reps, for the senators, 26 yeas, 8 nays. Anyway, they didn't give us an opportunity to have public input, so I appreciate this. I really appreciate it. The North American Electric Reliability Corporation is the commission designated electric reliability organization of the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission. Its acronym is NERC, N-E-R-C. I'm kind of getting on the electrical grid issue. There's so many issues about the data centers coming in. But May 5th, 2026, and I'll send you these articles, says NERC issues level 3 alert mandates action to address data center load losses. And remember, this is part of the Federal Commission. Okay, computational loads pose immediate risks, the grid watchdog said. Certain grid participants must take 7 actions by August 3rd in response. Well, I'm not going to read the whole article, but this was just published a little over a week ago. But the key points are the North American Electric Reliability Corp on Monday issued a rare level 3 alert, the watchdog's highest level, following instances of data centers unexpectedly dropping load or oscillating demand rapidly, creating reliability concerns. The alert includes 7 actions grid entities must implement to address immediate risks posed by computational loads, NERC said. Anyway, it goes on, and this level 3 alert is a very unusual high alert. So it says it is critical that we have standards in place to protect all ratepayers from negative impacts to grid stability, reliability, and resiliency that are caused by data centers, especially given the rapid proliferation of these mega users across the country. NERC efforts to better align utility and data center operations may take longer than anticipated. Digital Power Optimization's CEO and founder
Andrew Weber told Utility Drive. The company builds and manages data centers. He says it will take years of coordinated effort in the drafting of new regulations, understanding limitations and opportunities related to physical equipment, understanding limitations and opportunities related to software and control systems, reprioritizing various loads all throughout society, etc. Weber said in an email. Okay, so that's just a recent.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Ma'am?
Thank you. I had so much more, but...
Oh, ma'am.
Yeah, there's a question.
Yes.
Could you leave a copy of that?
Yes. Yes, I will send it to the commission to you individually.
Could you leave a copy of what you have now?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'd appreciate it.
Sure.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I have a question.
Yes.
Did you attempt to give public testimony at the state when this was in committee?
No, honestly, it was one of the last things they did in April of 2025, and I was not aware of it at the time. But from what I understand, it was pushed through rather quickly.
I just want to make sure people knew they did have the opportunity to voice their concerns at the state committee level.
No.
Thank you.
I wasn't aware of that opportunity.
Thank you.
Well, are you saying that there was a committee hearing on this bill?
Well, I just wanted to make sure people understand they do have a voice in Topeka. Like,
Absolutely. Hey, we can't have that, or we'll have to clear the room. So please do not do that. I'm just asking, did you say that there was a committee hearing where the legislation was heard in terms of a hearing in Topeka?
I have not followed this closely through, but I have gone to the state to provide testimony in a committee prior.
Right, but I'm not certain that in this case, I think it was and we can follow up, but I think it was a piece of legislation, was a gut and go, and I don't think there was a committee process on this bill.
Yeah, I would love to clarify and make sure.
All right. Further public comment. Thank you very much. Sir, are you coming for public comment? All right, come on down. How's everything on Tonganoxie Road?
Tonganoxie Drive. It's good down there. It's good. Mrs. Reed, thank you. Bill Knoll, thank you. I made so you'll know, a few weeks ago you said, why don't you just make an appointment with Bill? And I did, and made it official and talked to him. And Bill's trying to give me some help on that issue. But I'm here today, and I don't have all my facts and numbers straight, and this is a little off the cuff, but I am behind this group as far as the data center is concerned and the concerns of the data center. But I also today want to represent a group that doesn't get talked about very much in America, let alone Leavenworth County anymore, and that's a group of senior citizens. And I'm one of them. I'll be 72 next week, and I guess I've been one for a while now. So my issue is property tax and paying taxes for companies who do not need their taxes paid for. I also represent a group of one, but a group of many in this county that have been involved with raising our children, grandchildren, and great-grandchildren. And for me, property tax is a real issue. As far as other grandparents in this county, it's a very large issue. We cannot afford these property tax to go up, especially to pay for people that can handle it. We were we were foster parents for our own grandchild. And in this community of Leavenworth County, there are many, I don't know the numbers, but there are many. We got to meet a lot of them in the foster system that are struggling to raise our grandchildren and great-grandchildren today. And property tax will hurt us all. We deal with it, and sometimes I don't know where the answer is coming from, but you have to do it. Otherwise, you go find yourself a cave and you live in it. But the property tax for the senior citizens of this county is a very large thing. And I know many now foster grandparents who are struggling to make ends meet while we raise these children. So I ask for you guys to keep this in mind, very large, along with all the other issues that are here, where the data center comes in with a company that can afford their own taxes. I have to, just as the other gentleman said, I have to afford my taxes. Nobody's paying them for me. So if you would, please keep that in mind.
Thank you for your
Excuse me,
comments.
sir. Excuse me. Before you leave the podium, are you aware that foster parents who are raising their children, grandchildren, and now they're foster parents, are not given the same financial benefits through the state as an individual who is not a relative?
Yeah, yes.
Well, that is something that I think you should consider. And what you're saying about I don't disagree with your analysis of the taxes, but I do disagree with you saying that that's causing one, and it's not causing that. It's done by a state statute that does not give the foster parent, grandparent, the same financial cover as it does an individual who's a total stranger.
Right.
So you're not aware of that, correct? Thank you.
When you say you don't agree with my analysis of the taxes, what do you mean by my analysis of the taxes?
What I mean by that is that one has nothing to do with the other.
Okay, you lost me. I'm sorry. I'm not a
Well,
very
you come to
smart
my office
man, I
and
know,
we can
but-
have a conversation about it if you like. And I'll quote that and I'll get that statute that actually I was surprised that the state would do something of that nature, and it's been going on for a long time. So grandparents have been put under the bus, in my opinion, when it comes to those foster kids. But if you want to come to my office, I'd be more than happy if I sit outside and let's go over it.
I'll do that.
Okay? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Additional public comment. So further public comment? All right, then we will move to administrative business. Mr. Lawfrey.
Commissioner, I don't have anything for administrative business other than what's on the agenda.
Okay. Then we'll go to commissioners. I have a couple of items. I'm going to just bring up under administrative business. I think it boils down to what the head of the Department of Commerce said when he was here at our work session, and he stated that we respect the views of the communities. We do not push data centers. We do not push these on the local community. If the local community is in opposition, then we support the views of the local community. And I think that's the bottom line here. I've been surveying my district, both letters and online. This is just a sample. This is very obviously unscientific, but I had 175 responses, and this is just a number of questions on here. But concerning the data center, what is your opinion? And almost 65% of the people that I represent are in opposition, just flat out in opposition to
this coming into Tonganoxie. When I had a separate question that addressed whether there should be a moratorium, and the number is 80%. 80% believe that there should be a moratorium. So, as we talk about this, a couple items. I went back and reviewed the tape of the work session, and also made some cuts on that tape. And one of the things was that was presented by the KCC representative was that the KCC is an economic regulator, not an environmental regulator. Because the question was asked, do you take water into account when you're making your decision about how many data centers are going to come in? Do you take that into account? And they said, no, we are an economic regulator. KCC is an economic regulator. Those other items are reviewed by the Kansas Water Board, various other departments, KDHE, Kansas Water. And then I found out the Kansas Water Plan that has been worked on and developed in Kansas, there's no chapter or even a component within the Kansas Water Plan dealing with data center. Now that seems to be a gaping hole in the water plan when you don't even have a component of data centers when we are being overrun by data centers in the state. You watch the news every night and you see there's a new proposal for a data center, or there's new opposition, Osawatomie, DeSoto, Independence, Ottawa. Just start naming them and think of it that the state of Kansas doesn't even have a portion of their water plan that even deals with data centers. That should be concerning. There's state legislation asking for a state moratorium, and it makes sense to me that there would be a state moratorium until we get our act together on the state level, because this has come in so quickly that and when I read some of the literature, it says they come into rural areas that don't have a lot of regulation, and they just think that we just are going to not really look into the issue, I guess. Well, I think we should. I think we should look into the issue. If you don't believe me that Tonganoxie's in opposition to this, and I'm going to pose this question to our county councilor because I visited with her a couple of weeks ago. What are the provisions in the law that would allow for an advisory vote, and could we narrow that down, or would we have to have a county-wide advisory vote?
Commissioner, I'll just start by saying advisory elections are unfavored. They are non-binding. You can call for an advisory election on a matter. Everyone has to understand that it's not binding. Nobody has to take any action on it. I know the county has had some in the past. If you do call for an advisory election, you'll have to frame the question as if, properly, like, shall we do this? Shall we do that? It is at the cost of the county, so the taxpayers will have to fund it. You ask if it could be narrowed down to a particular area on that. That's a bit unorthodox for an issue that's facing, it's a whole county-wide issue, but if you were to narrow it down, it would need to be in an established, like within a boundary of a jurisdiction, such as the city of or a township. So you couldn't just draw a map and etch it out. You'd have to stay within a jurisdiction. And also, I would need to know that there's parameters on, you can't use the state's equipment to do it, like the Elvis system, their ballots, everything else would have to be funded by the county to do that. So
back to what I was saying, I'm doing the best I can to identify how people feel. But if you don't believe me, if you don't trust that the information I'm getting, if you don't trust that, then I would say the other option is that we could have a referendum and ask the people what their opinion is. Because I am very confident, being from Tonganoxie, that my numbers would be tremendously in opposition to this proposal. On top of that, another thing that I watched the video again, and it said the gentleman from KCC also stated that
There's no law in place in Kansas that if there was a power failure on the grid, if there was a power failure, that residential customers would be placed ahead of data centers as far as a requirement in the law that the power goes to the residential folks first. Now, they stated that was a practice, but they said in the law that public policy has not been adopted. I would suggest if we have a moratorium, that would be one of the proposals that we put on the plate, is that if there's a power failure, then the residential customers come first. Remember, this proposal in Tonganoxie is equivalent to powering a large city. That's how much electricity they're going to use. And they should not come ahead of the people in our community. Finally, the last thing I'll say is, said it again and again and again, the gentleman from Cloverleaf, who is the broker for this proposal, stated that this project would not come to Kansas or to Tonganoxie if it wasn't for the subsidies and incentives contained in Senate Bill 98. So basically your state government is paying them to come. They're not making anything tangible. And when the technology does change in 10 years, I mean, you project out 30 years, but we had VHS 20 years or 30 years ago. When that technology changes, there's no guarantee that this property tax is going to continue flowing into the county. When the technology changes, the big tech billionaires, they just move on. They just move on, and guess what? Flyover country gets left behind, and that's the truth. So on that note, I would like to make a motion. I move that Leavenworth County adopt a 90-day moratorium on further development of Project Bluestem or any other data center proposal, battery storage facility, or crypto storage facility. This will serve as a pause until the county has time to consider and adopt regulations for such facilities. During this period, the commissioners will hold additional work sessions and hearings to give proper opportunity for all aspects of this massive and transformational project to be considered, and so that we can obtain and receive more information, and no application for a project proposal will be received by the county within this period. That's my motion.
I'll second it, Mike.
Open for discussion. Open for discussion. Seeing no further discussion or voting, aye.
No.
No.
Aye.
Aye. Very much. We'll move on now. The further administrative business, Commissioner Dove.
I don't have any administrative business to report, Jim.
Mr. Reed.
I would just like to talk for a little while. I'm highly disappointed in the three of you this morning. And I think that the future of Leavenworth County continues to be at risk. We'll have 3 new commissioners next year, so I can only hope that they'll be forward-focused. But we can't continue to have people come up and continue to complain about property tax at the same time that we're closed for business. You can't have both. It's also very contradictory for individuals to do surveys or even sit up here with smartphones or to have used Google for their research. If you sent a text, if you use an online streaming platform, you're being hypocritical. So I would ask everyone to please understand what data centers do. And if you're serious about not having one, then I want to see the individuals line up at the mic who are going to stop using the services they support. Thank you.
Administrative business.
Jeff? No, I've got one thing. I take exception to that, Commissioner. I've been reviewing and talking to people, and even though some folks say I haven't been reading the material they sent me, I've read more stuff than I probably ever want to read about these things. But I had to because I had to get educated. I have a long history of promoting growth in Leavenworth County. A lot of y'all know I was a city administrator in Lansing for 16 years. We brought in Main Street, which is our turn lane, and then we brought in, 15, 20 businesses. And one of the things we use, something we'll talk about, is neighborhood revitalization area, which I do support. But there's a way to do things, and I cannot sit up here. There's still more information to be had, but I have a tough time sitting up here looking, even though not in my district, people telling me, and I see how sincere they are about don't do this down here. I don't know where the final vote's going to go, but I've got serious concerns, and I do want Leavenworth County to grow in all areas because we are getting killed by the state regulations, and that's why some people are trying to get in the state to do some things up there to help. But whether you agree with this or not, we're going to keep going forward to make sure we get all the answers. All this does is give us the opportunity to keep the information, keep the copies of reports you all bringing to us, so we have a better understanding. This is new, folks, but I will not hurry anything. That's why I supported it.
All right, moving on. We will move on. We have. Do we have the senators? Are they here? Are the representatives?
Commissioner, I've been trying to get a hold of him.
Okay.
Senator Klemp is on his way. He said
Okay, we'll just juggle him down when
you do the proclamations
when
first. He'll probably be here.
Should have got here when we were talking about data centers.
Yeah, you should have been.
EMS.
We're going to bring it back up.
I'm excited for that.
Oh, that's good. Come on up. Do you want to, Commissioner? I'm going to promote you.
I don't know that promotion.
Do you want me to read the proclamation, or would you like to read it? Go ahead. Okay. I'm going to read the proclamation, and we'll let you guys say a word after the proclamation. Thank you for all you do, and here we go. Proclamation for EMS Week, May 17th, 2026 to May 23rd, 2026. Whereas the theme for EMS Week 2026 is improving outcomes together, emphasizing collaboration across the healthcare spectrum, including EMS professionals, 911 dispatchers, public health officials, fire services, and law enforcement to deliver better patient care and support clinician well-being. Whereas emergency medical services are a vital public service, and whereas the members of the emergency medical services team are ready to provide life-saving care to those in need of 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and whereas access to quality emergency care dramatically improves the survival and recovery rate of those who experience sudden illness or injury, and whereas emergency medical services fill healthcare gaps by providing important out-of-hospital care, including preventative medicine, follow-up care, and access to telemedicine, and whereas the emergency medical services system consists of first responders, emergency medical technicians, paramedics, emergency medical dispatchers, firefighters, police officers, educators, administrators, pre-hospital nurses, emergency physicians, trained members of the public, and other out-of-hospital medical care providers. And whereas the members of the emergency medical services team, whether career or volunteer, engage in thousands of hours of specialized training and continuing education to enhance their life-saving skills, and whereas it is appropriate to recognize the value and the accomplishments of emergency medical services provider by designating the Emergency Medical Services Week now. Therefore, I, Mike Stevens, Chairman of the Leavenworth County Board of County Commissioners, do hereby proclaim the week of May 17th through 23rd, 2026 as EMS Week. You want to say a couple words?
Thank you, Commissioners, for the recognition of the proclamation. This year is pretty special to Leavenworth County. As I said in our this is our 50th anniversary year. Leavenworth County EMS was established in 1976. Every year it is recognized, but this is a pretty special year for Leavenworth County. It's our 50th anniversary, and I appreciate the recognition from the Commission.
Y'all do a great job.
Thanks for
really do.
You want to say something?
Thank you.
We're always open to speeches.
Or jokes.
Thank you.
Thank
I love
you.
that. Okay, we also have a Public Works Week proclamation. Do we have the Public Works? Anybody for Public Works? Okay, Bill gets to give a speech. Okay, National Public Works Week proclamation. Whereas public works professionals focus on infrastructure, facilities, and services that are of vital importance to sustainable and resilient communities and to public health, high quality of life, and well-being of the people of Leavenworth County, Kansas. And whereas these infrastructure facilities and services could not be provided without the dedicated efforts of public works professionals who are engineers, managers, and employees at all levels of government and the private sector who are responsible for rebuilding, improving, and protecting our nation's transportation, water supply, water treatment, and solid waste systems. Public buildings and other structures and facilities essential to our citizens, and whereas it is in the public interest for citizens, civic leaders, and children in Leavenworth County to gain knowledge and maintain an ongoing interest and understanding of the importance of public works and public works programs in their respective communities, and whereas the year 2026 marks the 66th annual National Public Works Week, sponsored by the American Public Works Association, Canadian Public Works Association, be it now resolved by Mike Stevens, Chairman, Leavenworth County Commission, do hereby designate the week of May 17th through 23rd, 2026 as National Public Works Week. I urge all citizens to join with representatives of the American Public Works Association and the government agencies in activities, events, and ceremonies designed to pay tribute to our public works professionals, engineers, managers, and employees, and to recognize the substantial contributions they make to protecting our national health, safety, and advancing quality of life for all. In witness thereof, I have hereunto set my hand and affixed the seal of Leavenworth County this 13th day of May 2026 in Leavenworth, Kansas. Thank you, Billy. Give us a speech.
All right. Well, I'd just like to thank our crews and all the staff we have out at the Road and Bridge Department. They do a great job and continue to work every day on the roads. And I think it's important to remember that our roadway network is very large. We have over 750 miles of roadway we're maintaining here in the county. And statewide, I believe that the state of Kansas has the second most roadway miles being maintained in the entire country by local governments. And so statewide, there's a huge effort to maintain all of these local roads and provide all the agricultural access that the state of Kansas has. And so with that, I would also add one other thing is the road system is usually the only public service that is used daily by almost every citizen in the county. So the importance of that roadway system is clear and used daily and gets a lot of eyes on it. So appreciate your support and helping with the phone calls that you do receive and the staff that we have here to work on the roads.
Hey, Bill, pass on to your crew, too. And with the amount of folks you do and all the roads that we're doing, especially the ones we've been creating new roads or paving them, they do a fantastic job.
All right.
So one thing I think is important to get out there is how much road, bridges, and infrastructure we've done in the last 5 years. In the past 6 years, we've paved and hard surfaced more roads than had happened in the previous 30 years. I know that more than $100 million down in the southern part of the county, but if we add the entire county up, it's, I don't know what the total is. I never heard the absolute total, but all of our monies that came from relief from COVID, which was the CARES Act and the ARPA money, your commissioners dedicated to going to infrastructure, things that last, things that will last for generations to come. Yep. And we did culverts, road improvements, and also the last 2 years we've tried to keep your budget. When we first, I know 7 years ago when we had a work session, we were way behind, and we're still behind, but we've been catching up on our maintenance of the county roads, and it's a priority. And I can't say more about this gentleman in front of
And
us.
the grants you've been able to get. Have the state pay for them. They don't pay for anything else, Jeff, so have the state the grants. Just kidding. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So we will circle back around to a very honored guest, our senator, Senator Clinton. Come on down and address the commission, and if you're willing to take some questions as well.
Morning, Jeff.
Good morning. Sorry, I'm a little under the weather with my throat. So, no proclamation for a dartboard or something?
You can get one together.
The door's starting to close behind you, Jeff.
No worries.
Give us a minute.
So, I appreciate the invite, and getting off the post is a little challenging sometimes. So, I get on to the post right now. So, but anyway, I didn't have much prepared. I was hoping to answer some questions, if there's tough questions and or concerns or thoughts, things we should focus on next session. I think from my perspective, this session we had a lot of wins, a couple misses, and what you're probably seeing out of District 5 is we fight the causes that are important to our community here as well as for the state. And some of the requests that came from the county and the local cities, such as a little piece of property and just outside Lansing that you guys had asked for. It's been a handful of years. It was gifted in the late 1800s to the state on the correctional side. We went ahead and had some good conversations there and were able to get that gifted back so there wasn't an asset sale. And that was a nice win for us that wasn't asked by you guys.
Appreciate that, Jeff. That was a long 3 years coming. That's got potential.
I think there's a start of a conversation there. There's probably a broader conversation on what that whole area starts to look like. And I'll be anxious to see what the talent pool does with that, so I'll get to stay out of that a little bit, maybe help with some other property that might be in that surrounding area. And I think I'll just highlight a miss. One of the easiest things we thought we could get through the Senate this year was a little sales tax for you guys to put something on the ballot, let the people vote on emergency response equipment. And it was nice that our leadership decided to play some political games with that, so it didn't get over the goal line. I think there's some wins in that. I'll look at the bright side of that. There's a RFP that's out there today looking for new emergency response equipment by the state on the transportation side, and I think that has the option. There's an option there where they may not go with Motorola or one of the groups that you guys are currently using their equipment. This little delay is what we'll call it. It'll be one of the first things we run next year to get that over the goal line. It'll be 2028 before I think you guys can enact it anyway, if it gets voted in by the people. But I think that little bit of a delay may help us understand, are they going to stay the course? I don't know why they wouldn't stay the course, because it's a huge lift if you want to replace everything. So I'm not quite sure why they're doing an RFP, but they are. But based on that, if there was some risk, buying that equipment now that may not be compatible could have been a little bit of a spend that you wish you wouldn't have made. So that being, I did have a good conversation with Motorola leadership, and I don't think there's really any risk of you staying with what you have for a couple years. At least they told me there's very little risk of that being an issue for you guys. So I think we'll get it over the goal line next year. I think we'll keep it. It won't get immersed in with some other legislation, which will like to merge things from time to time, and these things should be the decision of the people to vote on that. Much like a sales tax, we were trying to get that through a constitutional amendment in the hands of the people to vote on that with a cap, and we were able to get that through the Senate, but the House got a little stubborn on us, and so I think whenever you take something out of the hands of the people to vote on, we're probably not seeing through the right lens of clarity. Other than that, there's not really county specific, but some piece of legislation that I was the point person on. Alzheimer's, dementia, and mental health was a huge win for us in this, and with the University of Kansas. And we talk about our rural areas, and there's a whole rural plan that addresses Alzheimer's, dementia, and mental health. And it's something that's going to roll out in 2027, but there's such advancements in that space and how we invite rural Kansas into that conversation without having them have to go to a regional center. It's a telemed, mobile, and regional play that invites rural hospitals into the conversation, not under the brand of Kansas Hospitals, University of Kansas, but under their own brand. So they have now additional billings that they're going to do, because a lot of them are suffering as far as how they're from a financial statement perspective. So I think there's some really good wins there that'll come from this. So that was a good thing, and we all kind of know that the Jackson murder case that happened in our community. So I ran legislation to fill that loophole on mental health. We were successful bipartisan from a bipartisan perspective to get that loophole filled. And so folks that have created heinous crimes that are sitting under this mental health kind of a loophole don't have a risk of getting out until they've been tried, and whether they're convicted or not, it's the court's decision there. But that was a good piece of legislation. And finally, as I catch my breath from talking, I also ran Kratom 708, which is a synthetic version of Kratom, to be a Schedule 1. That was also a bipartisan bill that was passed into legislation, and so the synthetic version and the leafy product are both Schedule 1s, which are illegal. I'll open it up to questions.
So I'm going to have us go around the horn here. I happen to be the first guy today. During our meeting earlier, we were discussing data centers. Of course, it's been a big issue. I pointed out my online survey coming back, almost 66% of the folks at Tonganoxie in opposition. The information I'm getting, we talked about maybe having an advisory election if people didn't believe that. But the representative from the Department of Commerce, when he was here at our 6-hour work session on these data centers, he stated that the Department of Commerce is not pushing this on local communities. If the local community is in opposition, that they said the views of the local community should be respected. Do you agree with that?
Am I in a yes/no situation?
Well, I mean,
yes, I agree with that decision. It's always locals should be making the decision at the local control.
So,
yes.
And the second thing I had was I'm very, 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 very disappointed in the failure on property taxes in the legislature. When you come back and revisit the cap next session, will we still try to get that dated in 2022, or is that date going to have to be moved? I mean, 2022 is getting further and further back, but that really benefits a lot of people to leave it at that date. Is that?
I would love to see the cap stay in place in 2022. It's a huge win for the state. It's a huge win for our community. I don't see an appetite in the House to get it done. Whether that changes happen at the House level, what you have is a couple things. You have the Senate. We've been able to pass it 3 years in a row. We've passed it overwhelmingly 3 times last year in different capacities, different ways. Trying to throw something over the goal line that might be able to get past the House. We made changes to it. We even added one to cap at 9%. I'm like, who the hell wants that, right? It's like, okay. But it's like there's opportunities in there on how language is stated to allow us to address things in statute. So this is a constitutional amendment, so now you have to have the people vote on that. So we're trying to get a little bit creative on how we can insert language that allows us to say, even if you start, for example, Texas or in Oklahoma, they started at 10%. Well, now most of them have continued to go down, and some of them are going to go to 2 and 1% this coming year. So we know it works. 26 states that have this. You have an outlier of California, but I think there's a whole lot of reasons California doesn't work in general. But if you look at, there's a good history of how this can impact our locals in a positive way. Capping the appraisal process, which is broken, Western Kansas, that group out there, feels it will shift on to farmers. We have good data feeling like it won't. What it does is put transparency on local government. You need to run your budgets the way you run your budgets. So, but when you have this excessive property tax, it creates this moment to where You're not having to make the tough decisions because all this extra money is available. So what I liked about the cap, it provided transparency for local governments to manage your budgets the way you choose. People vote you in, manage your budget. It shouldn't be for me to get in the middle of that other than to provide guardrails from which to accomplish that, which is the role of the state. So local control, I'm a believer in. And some of our folks would say we're suffering. Every door I go to says we're suffering from property tax. So that's not a state thing. We control the guardrails, which cause you guys to have to ebb and flow on the property tax. So when we look for things that can come into our state that can dramatically affect property tax, that then comes to you from which to make the decision whether you want it or not. Data centers being one of those options. So there's a handful of those things that are, we'll call big ticket items, that we look to. I ran legislation last year on data centers, just putting that out there, and it's we can have further conversation at some point about that. But I do feel property tax is going to continue to be an issue. I don't know if I see an avenue for the House to fall in line, because I mentioned rural. There's groups out there, lobbyists out there, that have a strong hold on where folks appreciate their opinions, even though I think they're misguided. Then we also have a local group, mostly Overland Park area, that has a strong opinion on, by us putting a cap on it, affects local government. I would say it does. It actually provides more transparency on local government, but you still have the ability to raise your rates as high as you want to raise them. The cities and the schools and everybody. But now it's extremely transparent. So I'll continue to fight that fight, working across the aisle. All my legislation was bipartisan this year, and there are significant issues. They weren't like, I did give some bridges and roads that are always fun to do, but there were strong pieces of legislation that make our state better. And so I'll continue to fight that. I do say it's going to be a challenge. We won't be under a new administration. It might be Republican, might be Democrat for a new administration. If it's a Republican, you only need 51% to move legislation through, but you can't do a constitutional amendment, but you can do something else. So it could be an interesting play. Or if it's a Democrat, we'll have to figure out how do we work together better. So talking to Circle, I agree with you. 2022 was one of the big issues that we put on the legislation for last year to go back to 2022. The challenge with 2022 and how it affects our schools and the cities is a significant thing to just be aware of. I'm a fan of it, but it does affect them in ways that, especially on the school side, I mean, they're already spending that money at 2027 levels, and we're going back to 2022 levels, so there'll be a whole lot of birds in the saddles on that one that we'll have to figure that out. So, good question. Thank you.
Mr. Dove.
Thank you for coming, Senator. I always look forward to having a conversation. We had a brief conversation yesterday. Some people are under the impression that there'll be no property tax paid by data centers. Could you expound upon that, please?
Yeah, so we're not in relieving anybody. I think any decision that I would vote for leaves property tax out of all conversations. I don't know why we would touch the main generator for communities than the way of property tax. I've probably been more outspoken than I probably should be on that with my city. So, but my perspective is property taxes we should be protecting. I should be running legislation and guardrails that says don't go after property tax. You're getting a wonderful incentive. If you get a data center, if you choose to go down that path, they have to answer all the right questions that are going to be the questions that need to be answered. But you know what? Don't ask for property tax. If you are going to give property tax, do I have a soft spot to say it takes 3 years to build it before they start generating revenue? I'm okay with that. But I don't even think data centers, they don't need it. They're coming in, they're going to generate plenty of revenue. They'll be just fine. I don't think they're suffering. So, but I do think we should take a hard line and say, you know what, we don't need to give away property tax. You have a wonderful incentive. We're also incentivizing their ability to take the servers and write that off as sales tax. Yeah. It's a tool that generates revenue, much like a tractor in a field. So when it came to us and we looked at, do we allow them to do that? We can say, well, the big gorilla wants something, they don't need it. And I think that's a fair point. What it tells me is we need rural encompassing legislation from which to draw the line on what is our Kansas tax policy around property tax in general, or around, do we pick winners and losers? Do we try and stay out of that space? When they came and asked for it, we said it's a tool that generates revenue, we're okay with it. So they can do their building construction costs and the tools that generate revenue, which would be servers. But that's all they were given from a state perspective, from which to entice them to come to the state. But it all has to come through the local for you guys to approve it or not approve it. But they need to be paying property tax, and the amount they pay is significant.
Right. I appreciate that. Some individuals are under the impression that it's just the reverse. And
Well,
it's a non-starter for us.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, Commissioner. If you give away property tax, it's on you guys.
Yes,
So
exactly.
it's not on the state.
And that's a non-starter here.
I probably speak out against you on that one. All right.
Okay.
Mr. Reed.
Thank you.
I'm sorry you're under the weather. I hope you
It's
feel
all
better
good.
soon.
I'm brightened just by being in the room today. It's all good. Yeah.
Is there anything you would speak to the people of Tonganoxie as far as data centers? We've had weeks of naysayers. What concerns me is that the majority of people are sincere about property tax, and I don't think that we're anywhere close to putting the messaging out on how much this could impact our county.
You know, so my view on I love Tongi, and it's growing. It's a crazy cool little city, and it's I love going through there. Grew up going through there, and it's growing nicely. I think on property tax, I think there's good information and bad information. Some is older information. I think there's good information that's available, and these data centers have done not a great job of getting information out there, because the concerned folks are truly concerned. They believe what they believe, and if we're going to do a bad job of educating them, it's on us that we didn't move that through the process. Some people are always going to be, I just don't want it. Mm-hmm. That's a different conversation. That's a decision that you guys have to make. We don't want to expand. I tend to lean towards the pain of taxes. We don't invite people into our state. We drive seniors out of our state. We drive folks on limited income out of our state. And we don't have a tax policy that says, thank you for being here. You know, so, and we try and find creative ways to do that. I think data centers is maybe a way, but there's so many things they need to answer.
Sorry, trying to get it off. I was just looking for the sound.
I heard the word data centers. But
I'm just looking for the noise they make. That's all.
So I was thinking, so my perspective is they come here, they state their case, they have their data. You guys have to decide, people have to decide if you agree with that. Looking at the data from the data centers, I push on them to get you relevant information that's real and new. You know, how they put, how they build their own energy behind the wall, how they put all that in so it doesn't pull capacity, how the Kansas water system conservation group has to approve it, and so it's so I look at those things and it comes back to you guys to try and figure out what the right answer is.
Just a second. What's the humming?
I think it's that sound device.
Oh.
It's a data center.
I appreciate the noise.
Yes.
Thank you.
You'll get more
And
noise.
it's and so also on top of that, noise abatement. They should be very clear on how they're going to abate the noise. So that's a question that has to come to you for that answer, and it's and as you heard, it can be a little annoying. So, but
Next to your house.
Please, don't do that.
So just that being said, I think there's a lot of things that you guys have to focus on to move that through the process. So,
Thank you.
good question.
Mr. Culberson.
Mr. Smith. Yeah, I've got one. And first of all, I appreciate whenever I call you, you get right back with me, and even when it's not the information I want to hear, I appreciate that. I can't say that for everybody. But one of the things, even if we went forward with these data centers, and you say you're getting property tax, we had a formula 20 years ago plus called local ad valorem tax. You're familiar with it.
I am, yes.
And this was not on you, but there was an agreement that the state would reimburse or send back a certain percentage, depending on formula, to cities and county. And that was very important. That's what helped keep In fact, it was designed to keep the mill levy down, which is a tax. When I came in office, we started putting pressure up there, and instead of reimbursing us, you changed the law. What is a guarantee that if this should pass, and I don't know if it will, should pass, that in 2 years you decide, not you, but the property tax, we've decided we're going to keep it too. So now only do we lose what we thought was going to help the property tax owners with, we lost all control of it. So they get everything. So how can we know, and you probably can't answer it, how can we know that in 3 years, when all that money's coming in, if it passes to wherever else in Kansas it is, the state's not going to say, you know what, we like that. We're going to go ahead and change the rules on this now.
Yeah, I think Commissioner Smith, I think it's a great question. I think when it comes to property tax, the state has no appetite to have any participation in property tax. We run on we're not successful at the door saying we don't have a say in property tax. We have 19.5% of property tax that goes to the schools as required by the Kansas Supreme Court. We are not in that business. That is, and whether that needs to be legislation that's run to make you guys feel more comfortable with that, I feel like that's not the ad valorem. LABTR is a different conversation. I think that they're two separate things, and I was not a part of either of those. I only get involved in good things, Mike. You know that. So, but I do think that it's a good question. I don't think there's risk there. And if we have to run additional legislation to say that or do something that just says, you know what, property tax is what you guys use to generate revenue to run things on, especially our schools. And anytime we start to put our finger in the middle of that in ways that are, like you said, if we're going to take it back, I don't know. I don't know how many of us will still be up there when we're done with doing that. It seems like it's an optic thing we have no appetite to be in. So, good question.
Well, I want to respect your time.
Yeah, I'm here for you
we
guys.
Go around the horn again, or
what about?
Well, we might hit him on the next time through.
We're all day to chat with him.
I'll pose a question for you. The gentleman from when we had our 6-hour work session, and I don't know if you had I'm sure you have in your spare time you have hours and hours to watch these work sessions, but. We had the gentleman from KCC came and he said he was asked specifically about when you're locating the data centers, the issue of water.
Yeah. And
he specifically said the KCC is an economic regulator. We're not a environmental regulator. We don't take those. Typically, they don't take those items into account. And then discovered in the Kansas water plan that's being developed, and the governor's worked on it substantially. I think this data center thing has just come in so quickly. There's not even a chapter or any kind of provision in the water plan for any kind of conversation about data centers. So I know your colleague, Senator Blasey, introduced a bill to put a moratorium on data centers, and it seems like there's some gaps and especially on the local level specifically, there's gaps in we don't have any regulations. But even on the state level, it seems like they'll say they have a closed loop system here, but then it turns out that uses about 40% more electricity, and that has to come from somewhere, and wherever that is, they use water. So how do we get to the point where we have a state policy established where we know, okay, in northeast Kansas, we can sustain X number of data centers? Is that conversation being had anywhere in any part of government?
The conversation is happening. So as far as Chase and his legislation, his local community asked him to run that. So that came from a local request. So it was not a state, it wasn't a top-down request. So I do think that and it didn't pass either, right? Parts of that did not pass. But I remember that piece of legislation. I would think on data centers, the approval of a data center or the additional energy behind the wall where they put it on the front side or the back side, how it gets built, they have to construct that. I'll give you a good example. DeSoto is a good. Putting Panasonic in, they were able to lower their taxes 38%. Putting the data center in, it might go to zero. There's a discussion around what does that do, but it's a 1,000-acre data center. But it's on land that's closer to a big city, but it also is land that is contaminated, so there's not many uses for that land. And when you look at what they're able to do there, they have wells that are contaminated. They're going to pump that water, because it's not great water, up and use that in their system. They then put a water treatment plant on complex. They're going to then retreat the water so it actually is going back in cleaner than when it came out. Do they have enough water treatment? We'll see how that plays out, but that's the original intent. And they feel like they've answered that question to say, we're taking care of the water is extremely important. And I think that is, the question is, do you want it in a pristine part of Tongi, right? Do you want that or not? I'm not going to get in the middle of what the right thing is for that community.
I can tell you how my constituents feel.
I do agree with you. I think that, as I'm not lecturing my commissioner, I love what you guys do, but it's the 5 of you have to make that decision. And sometimes there's frustrating decisions where you have to pull the trigger, or you don't, right? It's either way. There's gives and takes in that whole thing. And it's, I have an opinion, but it's probably, I just want you guys to, what I do know is you're going to put the thought into this thing and make the best decision you can make.
But moving forward on the state level, is there any kind of a commission that we should put together, or have some kind of a regulatory board that actually focuses? Like, it seems like all the issues are kind of dispersed to different KDHE and the water department and the KCC. Is there somehow that we should get all consideration of data centers onto one page, or because it seems like the questions I'm getting is like, how many of these can we actually bring in, and I don't know where I get the answer to that.
You're wanting the state to determine what should be here in each region.
What's sustainable? What's sustainable?
Yeah, I think it's a good question. So it's, I know in commerce, so I said on commerce, I said on tax, I said on ways and means, transportation, and we have discussions around data centers. I'm meeting with large data centers just so I understand it better. You get one perspective on that. I have plenty of my perspective from my locals because they're very open to their feedback. And so I understand their concerns as well. So I just try and be as educated as I can, which I know you guys are doing as well. And I think the three main things that we push on, I feel okay with. And I'll leave it at okay, because I feel like they've addressed the how they're going to build extra energy apparatus to house that and help with that energy so it's not accumulating. You're not having to minimize the availability of what we already have. I feel like they're answering the water question as best as they can, and the state hasn't inserted themselves into it because I don't think they feel it's a huge issue, because there's not a whole lot of these that are being talked about in western Kansas where we do have an issue. The Alagala aquifer that's out there is already depleted, and and how we protect that is going to be a whole different conversation. What we do have here in our area is the availability of that, and I'm less concerned about that. I want you guys to do your job and make sure it goes in. So you guys, my county commissioners too, right? So I want you to kind of take a look at it, and I think on the noise abatement, if you force the right kind of surrounding area, you can probably abate that nicely. And those were the three, historically, the main questions over the last 10 or 15 years. And it's moving so fast because the capacity is so great. And nobody, the locals, because it's so impactful in property tax, they don't want to lose that opportunity. And my goal is to just feed as much good information as I can to you guys so you can make a good decision.
Okay, I'm going to go to Commissioner Dove here, but I'll just say one last thing is, and I made this comment, I had this in the Tonganoxie Near article, is data center debate, cowboy code, not everything is for sale.
That's right.
And I think that's what the folks at Tonganoxie are saying. Go, Mr. Dove.
I've already asked my question to the senator, and he's been very comprehensive answer. Thank you.
Mr. Reed.
Do you tend to make blanket statements for your constituents, or do you think there's probably more than one opinion that you represent?
Oh, yeah, no, I think, I don't know if that's leading. I'll take it as leading. However, I don't make blanket statements. It's my goal is to do, for me personally, I try and do my homework more than most. I just don't want to peel back a layer of the onion and not have the next layer where I can talk about it. And not all of us are going to agree, right? I'm a I'm listed as a strong conservative, and I am the fiscal conservative, so I tend to move that way. But I tend to get a little softer on pro-business areas if it's responsible growth. And I respect my county's decision. I respect the community's decision. If it's the majority that's making it, I'm not saying it's not, but I think it's a decision. It's a local control question. You're just getting my opinions today.
Thank you.
Mr. Culberson.
No.
Mr. Smith.
No, Jeff, thanks for coming down.
Thanks.
Yeah, I appreciate you guys.
Thanks for being here.
Yeah.
And we appreciate your representation.
I'm glad it came up, so that's all good. So thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you. You're doing a fine job.
All right, appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay, let's see here. I guess we do not have a county clerk report. So, let's go to the consent. Is there a motion on the consent agenda?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we accept the consent agenda as presented.
Second. There's a motion to accept the consent agenda as presented. Is there discussion? No discussion. I'll start the voting. Aye.
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 All right, thank you. Formal board action. Consider a motion to review the interlocal agreement with the City of Leavenworth, USD number 453, and Leavenworth County for the Neighborhood Revitalization Plan. Welcome.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Well, that wasn't the right button. Give me a second. Is it on the desktop? No, I just clicked off of it. Apologize for that.
Let's check right there. Right.
Let's see. Here we go. Perfect. Okay. Thank you, Chair, Board Commissioners, and Mr. Lawfrey for having me here this morning. I don't believe I have been formally introduced to this body, so I'll go ahead and introduce myself. I am Penny Holler. I am the Assistant City Manager and the Economic Development Director in Leavenworth. On the economic development side, that means I provide leadership and analysis for city growth, primarily focused on keeping and maintaining businesses. I have previous work in tax policy and analysis and economic development. And I'm here today to provide you with information on the Neighborhood Revitalization Area Program, also called the NRA, and to request the agreement continue on that partnership for another 10 years. All right, well, let's see if I can do a better job on navigating. There we go. Before I start, I think the map is the easiest way to explain this program, to orient you. You should have this in your agenda packet. It's available for the public. This is an area with a lot of potential for growth and a lot of risk that the growth doesn't happen. So the NRA in its current form has existed in this area for the last 20 years. If we're looking at the boundaries of the district, it starts at Metropolitan to the north, goes down to Spruce. The eastern boundary is the Missouri River, and the western boundary is about 10th Street. So this covers the downtown and all the surrounding areas. It's an area that includes the 28-block downtown, includes small starter homes, mid-sized family homes, small businesses, registered historic buildings, and vacant lots. The district was developed to address a specific need, maintaining and improving residential and commercial buildings in the district. It does meet the state statute, which requires that it contains demonstrated deterioration, high density, detriment to public health or safety, and impairs city growth, as well as having a predominance of buildings that by age or significance should be restored. So why we're here, right slide on the top, why we're here. So this program was set up 20 years ago. It was done through an interlocal agreement, so a three-way agreement with the school district, the city, and the county. The last renewal was in 2016 and was effective in 2017, and I'm requesting renewal of that agreement. There have been no updates to the NRA plan, and the district boundaries remain the same as the last time. There have been several success stories of projects that would not have happened without this program. However, it has not outlived its usefulness yet. We've not turned the tide in this area of Leavenworth where it's no longer necessary. If we do nothing in this area, we can almost guarantee we see further deterioration in buildings that will continue to lose their value, be demolished, and ultimately provide no value to the city or the county when they become vacant lots, which we can see too many of those in that area as well. While this program will not solve all economic issues in this area of the city, it is one tool that can assist. So what is the NRA? The Neighborhood Revitalization Area Property Tax Rebate Program, that's a mouthful, seeks to address the primary issue of the expense that building owners have in maintaining and improving existing buildings in this area. This census tract has a lower household income than most other areas of Leavenworth, making those initial investments more difficult. So what happens is the housing can become run down, and the longer that continues, the less likely there is for a turnaround. It's just like a road, right? If we don't maintain it, at some point it's more expensive, then they try to rebuild it. So maintenance and improving it while it's still at an improvable state is the ideal way to go. It makes it less desirable when those things happen for families to live there and for developers to renew or reuse properties. I was recently presented with Leavenworth housing information that found over 25% of the housing in the city of Leavenworth was built before 1940. And you'll find most of that housing in this original area of the city. And it can be an even greater expense to keep these buildings up on the business side. Many of the downtown buildings weren't built for what's now required, ADA accessibility requirements. Some of them were built in the late 1800s where that just wasn't a consideration. Downtown and surrounding buildings also require state and city codes that apply to life safety for fire suppression or fire-rated separations that can be expensive. And the cost of building construction materials in the past 5 years has gone up substantially, which just adds to that challenge. And as anyone who's ever done a construction project knows, the minute you open up a wall, you're not entirely sure what you're going to find, and that's very true for buildings from the 1800s or built before 1940. So those who love data and math, like I do, how it's calculated. So the simplest way I can explain the program is this. The building owner will pay for the improvements. They'll do the full project, they'll pay their contractor, and then it's the increase in the building value that matters. That's the key. It's not just for spending money on the building itself. That might be general maintenance or painting. This is required that it's items that are recognized by the Leavenworth County appraiser that increases the building's value. So the county appraiser actually sets the amount before the work is done and after the work is done. When they apply for the program, they're required to submit their building permit from the city of Leavenworth, their current property tax statement, and their application that explains their plans. And then that increment is set by the county. They pay their property taxes in full every year, and they receive a property tax rebate check from Leavenworth County, minus a 5% administrative fee. That goes back to encourage those investments to be made. That's really the key here. Is this is designed to be a program to encourage items that wouldn't happen without this incentive. And we thank the county for the partnership on this. You'd receive the 5% administrative fee. That was $23,000 in 2024 for that administration. That's project tracking, and that's doing the annual reports to the state of Kansas, who also oversees the NRA program. May not need to get too much into the process, but the simple answer is we walk homeowners through this. I walk business owners through this. The process is submit your application, submit your building permit, submit your property tax statement. We review it and make sure it fits the criteria. We provide that to the county, and then the county appraiser, the county clerk, and the county treasurer take it from there. When the work is done, the county appraiser is notified and the increment is set. And that goes for the period of years based on that increased value. So it's really that increased value here that makes the difference. I'd say the bottom line for this program, when we get to the rebate levels, that might be even more helpful.
The rebate term is exact is for how much money's involved. In other words, you got your 5 years. You change. It depends on how much money is going to be involved in that, and then you'll see the rebate come back.
It's a targeted program. You're correct, Commissioner. The goal is to provide the least amount of incentive to get this work and an investment to happen. So you'll often see for the dollar amount that is temporarily on hold, that the county, the city, and the school district don't receive, the property owner actually puts in substantially more. So we're really using a small amount of our funding to leverage greater investment. And that's what I would argue makes this really a well thought out program.
I agree.
It goes from 5 to 10 years. If we're talking residential housing, a lot of them end up to be in the 5 to 6 year range. You can see if you do a $30,000 investment on your residential house in this area, that would be a 5-year rebate check that you could expect to receive. And that does transfer with ownership. So if year 4, you've done those investments and it's even a more valuable property and you sell it, the rebate will continue, but it'll drop off in 5 years, and perhaps it might even be of more value after that. So it would probably repay the temporary rebate. Again, property is going to increase in value generally, especially if improvements were made, but even less than the rebated number of years. So if we get a 5-year tax rebate, let's say for residential improvement, the amount will literally be returned, I'd say within 3 to 5 years, just because of the value it's going to bring to that. Although the city, school district, and county don't get that tax revenue in the short term, again, when their time expires, we all receive the full taxable value at the higher rate. We also get a business or a house that's maintained and improved, bringing more people to the downtown area to dine and shop and grow sales tax. And these are also jobs for local contractors. So these are plumbers, electricians, building constructions that are going to also be doing this work, and there's going to be a community value there. So I'll give you an example of an actual residential house. It's a 3-bed, 2-bath house on 601 Miami. It's currently in the program. They did improvements. It increased the property tax value by $30,000. They probably spent more than that, but that was the increase in the value. The homeowner will receive a tax rebate for 5 years. In 2030, those amounts will end, and that full increased value will go back to the city and the county and the school district. So one example on the residential side. And then if we're talking on more multifamily or business side, the NRA is a tool for large projects that wouldn't normally happen otherwise. The Broadway lofts, Station lofts, Abernathy lofts, and Stove lofts in the downtown have added hundreds of living units, studios up to 3 bedrooms in the downtown area along the river. These are projects that utilize the NRA and usually some historic tax credits in areas that would have sat with little to no value had they not been improved. This was a large project. If we're looking at the one at 420 South Esplanade, this was one portion of a larger project. So this is just the one at 420 South Esplanade. I believe you have the full list. I know we provided it to Mr. Lawford of all the 26 projects that are currently in the program, their tax rebates, and when those, how long those will go, and when those will drop off. But this is just one example of a large project. So they also use historic tax credits in 2024. So the city did not receive $12,000 in property taxes. The county did not receive $17,000 in property taxes, and the school district did not receive around $25,000 in property taxes. But this program for them closes in 2025, which means that in 2026, that higher amount of taxes will go to the city, the county, and the school district as revenues. In fact, I think you're going to see several of these large projects that were done around 10 years ago drop back into the county tax rolls and benefit all of us from smart work that was done about 10 years ago. I can also talk about the NRA program supporting small businesses in the area. The B&B Theater, so the movie theater downtown, they're taking advantage of the NRA program, did fairly significant investments that wouldn't have happened otherwise. The Dog and Cat Clinic, you recall that moved. It's now on 7th Street. They have nice expanded facilities there. They're in the program. Haymarket Event Center downtown. Karma Cakes. It's a local downtown business I like to visit. My kids take me there more than I would like sometimes. They took advantage of this program to redo that business. It supports Karma Cakes and 2 additional buildings, or 2 additional businesses in their building there. So that's 3 businesses supported by this program. The Leavenworth Local Hotel and the Hampton Inn. Those are significant investments into the downtown that happened, and they use the NRA program, as well as newly built duplexes by Bob Doherty Park in that northeast area of the city. So these are all currently part of the program, and I think I was saying my finance director, and I would imagine the treasurer for the county is also watching eagerly for when these come off of the tax incentive, and we receive those funds.
Yep, absolutely.
So the renewal was really a request for the county to approve the interlocal agreement. And I will also say this may have been the first time for some that we've reviewed this program in this level of detail. For a program that is reviewed every 10 years, we're sort of revisiting this for some of us. I will continue to work with the county appraiser, with the county treasurer, and with the clerk to track program activity. My plan is to track that regularly and provide those successes annually to be shared with the Board of County Commissioners. Based on that, there's been no changes to the plan. The request is to renew the interlocal agreement. I'm happy to open it up and answer any questions that you may have on the program.
Okay, we'll go around the horn. I'll start. How many times has this been renewed? When was the initial adoption of this?
Yep. So this was a program set up by state statute. I think it's KSA 1217. The program in its current form under those statutes and in the way we have it with the county, the school district, and the city has been in effect for 20 years. The paperwork that I have says it started in 2006. It was renewed in 2016, and so this would be another 10-year renewal.
And typically in a year or over a period of time, how many projects would you say are participating?
Mm-hmm. That varies from year to year because the rebates are staggered. It depends on when one would do the project. I would say, as an example, 2015 was probably a quieter year and had a minimal amount of projects that were on the NRA. I'd say since then there was a lot of activity that happened. I'm not sure if they promoted the program shortly after the renewal or brought greater attention to it. 2016 to 2017, we saw a lot of, especially large investments, a lot of those downtown lofts that were built and that brought housing to the downtown were all done in that area. So right now there's 26. That's been a smaller amount. I'm not sure it's been higher than 26 based on tracking the last 20 years. I'm not sure I have a total of 2006 to 2026, but I would estimate somewhere around 50. Residential houses, small businesses, and lofts have been improved over the course of this program.
Do you know over that entire period what the total amount of rebates that have been issued would be?
So I have data from the excellent staff at the county for the last 10 years. I can tell you that. I can even tell you the impact of what that is to the county or the city. So I can tell you in 2024, which is the latest year that from the reporting that I have, that those tax rebates that in fact impacted the county were $148,000. I can tell you that was a much smaller amount in 2015. That was $23,000, again, before the program really started to take action. If I look at total tax, property tax rebates, let's see, I don't know if I have it. I have it by year, so I do have it. I have $3.3 million in property tax rebates amongst all 3 entities over the last 10 years. That totals, so if my spreadsheet's correct, $802,000 from Leavenworth County, and that is, again, a range of years. So for $23,000 in 2015 to $148,000 the last year that I'm looking at the data in 2024.
So that's, is there a cap on the maximum number, or who decides? The city just decides, well, this will be where we'll cap it off, or is there a?
There's not a cap on the program. I would say we haven't, from my review of this, seen this to be taken advantage of at a level that would be concerning. This is an area of the city that overall is worth hundreds of millions of dollars, and right now there's $3.5 million of property in the program. So honestly, I think we would all love to see greater utilization of the program. We have vacant lots in this area that anyone who can meet development review code or development review from the city could build a small house on, or another residential house, other apartments. We'd love to see those lots be built on. We have some vacant lots in the downtown where we could potentially build new businesses and get new activity in the downtown. We'd love to see those be built on. I would say I'd love to see this program be taken advantage of greater. In some ways, again, it's a short-term investment for the longer-term gain. We all continue to talk about our local budgets from the city, the county, and the school district. And one way to make wise decisions and get us all more revenues in the long run and make the services sustainable is for that growth. That's how we spur that, how we do that sort of smartly seems to be the question.
So a lot of these incentive programs exempt the 20 mills for the school. Is that this legislation allows you to go to the school and get an interlocal agreement as well to where they can exempt their property or rebate their property taxes?
Yep. So you're correct. There are some programs that have certain exemptions. Tax income rent finance, the TIP district is probably the easiest example. The NRA in some ways is a little more generous. It allows for tax rebate on the 4 mill levies from the school district. So if I'm looking at the chart that I think is in your packet, it includes their bond and interest, the general, the capital outlay, and the other. So the school district is also contributing to this program. I would also say that it also meets one of their key needs of getting housing for students and housing for teachers. We have seen, our friends at the school district are struggling for new students to come into the district, and I've heard their superintendent talk about the re-greening of houses. If we lose residential areas in this section of the city, that's not going to support their long-term revenues or getting students or teachers in that area either.
But you do a similar presentation to this to the school district, and then they sign on an agreement.
That's correct. So that was presented on Monday to the school district. We had at least one board member that asked for some very specific, and I'd say not normally asked for data points on the program, specifically relating to the increase in the appraised value in this area compared to inflation. So that wasn't something I had prepared, but wouldn't be a normal metric to track program success or quality. But we're putting that information together for the school district to renew. I didn't have any other significant questions on the program. Most of their questions were about historic district and about the National Historic Registry buildings that are in the program, but really about structure. So I think this group may understand, some of that historic building and as it relates to property taxes. But the long and the short of it is to get the highest level of incentive in this program, a building owner has to invest over $500,000 into their building or be on the National Historic Registry. Sometimes those two go hand in hand, but they had questions regarding that. So I anticipate that they will review this with that additional data, and I have not heard any additional questions or concerns from them.
Okay, I'll move it on around the horn, but I will just say this: I think we're really taking a look at all of these type of programs and kind of putting them under the microscope and seeing, because you're talking about property taxes, and people are very upset about the property taxes. Commissioner Dove.
Thank you for coming. What is being done to more publicize these tax abatements incentives that we have before? It doesn't appear like we're taking full advantage of it.
I agree. That's always a challenge. So from the city, there's only so much that we could do. We work with our economic development partners to get the word out. We work with Main Street to attract businesses to the downtown, and they share this program. We work with the Chamber of Commerce, the Leavenworth Lansing Chamber of Commerce, to share this information. We work with LCDC, who is one of the primaries to gain regional projects and national projects into this area. It's on the city's economic development website. I'm happy to give presentations and talk about this. I take calls fairly frequently from businesses that say, I want to locate in Leavenworth. What can you tell me what buildings are available and what potential incentives can you provide? This is one tool that the city of Leavenworth has for that. So we are working to renew our opportunity zone through the State Department of Commerce. That's another tool that we might have. That, I say, is my favorite one because that happens at the federal level with income taxes and is an investment on capital gains. So that's actually a federal IRS program that potentially will cover this area. We have the opportunity zone. We have the NRA. We have a small business grant that is specifically to grow and maintain small businesses. So the goal is we're sharing the NRA and these stackable programs trying to get investment in this area, but there's always room for growth. So if that would be something that you're aware of anywhere else, we can get this word out. We'd love to see that happen.
What's the largest acreage that Leavenworth has available for individuals to come in and take advantage of it?
Acreage. So are we talking empty lots in the whole city, or are we
Empty
talking
lots.
within the NRA?
Yes,
If we're talking the NRA, there's an available space in the downtown right now I would love to tell you about, right in this area of revitalization. You may know it as the former gazebo park. It was an area of blight, and some buildings were torn down. The goal that we've always had is for that to be an area that gets another business in and builds another building and grows. Maybe the largest one that I'm tracking in the downtown as far as business areas. But we know, so when we look at the demolition list from the city over the last 10 years, most of the residential housing that's been demolished in the city is in this area. And you can see it, drive 3 blocks in the downtown, you're going to see empty lots. Some of those are small, I don't know the acreage. Some of those are larger, or may have had a larger lot that goes with it as far as a yard or a garage space. We put that information out. We use Location One as a software to share city-owned properties. We're also working through our land bank to try to develop that. But they're still looking for ways to do that better, I would say.
Thank you.
Can you restate for me just cleanly the ROI for the county, like last year specifically?
Sure. So Leavenworth County in 2024, the county gave back in rebates about $148,000. And this went toward 26 properties. Some of those were single-family homes that did repairs, work, improvements. Some of those were to the downtown lots to get housing down there. Some of those were to local downtown businesses. Several of those, I'm not sure I have the correct number, a lot of the larger projects started about 9 or 10 years ago, which means I would expect to see that number for the county go down significantly in the next year or two as those drop off. And we will have to see if we are able to get more projects to continue on with that growth. But for right now, it's $148,000 in tax rebates for the county.
And do you use technology supported by AI in your position at the city?
That's pretty broad. Yes, absolutely, right? I think as a city, we're always looking for smarter ways to do things. Translation, how can I do something with less staffing, or that gives me better data? So absolutely. Use AI for informational purposes, cautiously. You always want to, relay that with an original data source. But yeah, there's absolutely tools that we use. I'm not sure if it uses, Probably somebody uses AI. So in the economic development department, I use the CoStar software to track available properties and connect those interested in coming to Leavenworth with available buildings and that information. In the tourism office, we use a software called Placer AI, and that definitely uses AI because it pulls a lot of consumer data. That data will tell me visitors where they're coming into downtown, where they're going after that. So coming to a museum, going to a restaurant, shopping at a small business. I imagine they use partial AI to track all that information. So the simple answer to that is yes.
Thank you.
Mr. Culberson?
For the people watching on YouTube, if somebody entered in this program and got it set up on a property, does the program go with the person or the property in case they sold the property?
It's with the property. So if someone is 8 years into the 10-year property tax rebate and they sell the property, it continues on at that same level. Sometimes the property is sold for more money than even it was originally assessed for when it started the program. So that can in some ways be advantageous as far as revenues that will come back to the county and the city afterwards if it's sold during the course of the rebate.
Okay. And is this for rental houses or only property owner?
It's for any property within the district that pays property taxes, and that increases the assessed value. So it is single-family homes, residential, it doesn't matter if it's a rental, small business property, minor industrial sections in the downtown, so it covers all of that.
Those are the two questions I get the most about.
Yeah. Just a couple. First of all, you already know I like the program. A little history of when it first came out 20 years ago. John Jackson, who was then working for Lansing, of course, we've stolen him since and brought him up to the county, and I set up this program. And this is, and go back to what Mr. Dove was saying, this is to me is not one that is familiar with smaller communities. It should be. Example, I was acting city manager when they were looking for a city manager in Osawatomie. They never heard of it. So one of the first things we did was get on this. This is one of those tools when you talk about property tax, isn't as dangerous, I think, as some of the other ones that are out there. There's a good payback on these in a timely manner. So I'm totally aboard on these, especially since I've had to work with before. So a great presentation, by the way.
Do you can this be stacked with RHIDs or TIFs? Can you stack the incentives?
It's incompatible with the TIF. So if we look on the map, you'll see the orange areas cover NRA, and there's some white areas within there. One is for the Home 2 Suites. That downtown redevelopment was a TIF, is not in the NRA program, and the 7-Eleven on Metropolitan is not in the NRA program. So NRA and TIF cannot be stacked together. We're still looking at RHID. I'm told that potentially they can be stacked together. I think we would want to carefully look at how they would interplay, what that means. RHID it has potential to be a much larger tax incentive. This is a more limited in amounts and time frame. But in theory, they could be stuck together, and it could be, again, this is wide open. The city of Leavenworth is still gaining data and information through our housing needs assessment to even consider the creation of an RHID policy. But you could write a policy in theory so that they complement each other.
My understanding is RHIDs originally were proposed out in western Kansas. They had a lot of these large buildings that were sitting vacant, and they had asbestos, et cetera, that had to be removed, and that was the purpose of it. So I see, a lot of these buildings in Leavenworth probably do meet the criteria what that was originally designed for RHIDs. I don't think RHID using it for residential, subdivisions. I don't really personally believe that was their intention of that. But for these buildings in downtown in this area of Leavenworth, I think they were designed for rehabbing and bringing those up. Do you have any numbers as far as you've offered these incentives? but when the value has gone up, how much more money we're receiving now?
I don't have that, but I think we need that. I think that would be helpful to tell the story of the success of this program. That's what I'd like to be tracking annually, so we can see that. I don't necessarily have
I think that would be the statistic that would sell it. So, Mr. Dunn? No. Mr. Reed? Culberson? Smith?
I don't have any, so I make a motion to renew the interlocal agreement with the City of Leavenworth and USD 453 in Leavenworth County for the Neighborhood Revitalization Plan.
Second.
There's a motion on the floor. It's been seconded. Is there discussion?
I am going to be having to conduct business differently than I would like until we have a pro-business board. If the county is choosing to forego a major potential commercial tax base, we also have a responsibility to reevaluate existing incentive programs. That's all for me.
Okay. Any further comments? All right. Voting. I vote aye.
Aye.
No?
Aye. Aye.
Thank you very much.
Bill, thanks for
Appreciate
the
it.
presentation.
All right. Back to my paper here. Consider a motion to dispose of surplus equipment as recommended.
Hey, Bill.
Morning, Commissioners. Before you have a list of surplus equipment that has either already been replaced or has reached the end of its useful life. This equipment is ready for sale and in most cases has already had the replacement arrive. We generally do not sell the equipment until the new equipment has arrived, especially with the lead times that we've been facing over the past 5 years. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to try to answer.
Are there questions? Is there a motion?
Make a motion to dispose of surplus equipment as recommended.
Second.
There's a motion on the floor that's been seconded to approve the disposal of surplus equipment. Is there discussion? No, by me.
No.
Discussion. All right, voting. I vote aye.
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 Aye. Aye.
Thank you very much. Do we? No, we do not require an executive session. So we will now go presentation and discussion on items, and then we'll adjourn before the budget presentation. Because I don't have anything.
No.
Mr. Reed.
Yes, I was, just having to keep up in real time with you boys as usual. And so, since we use YouTube to air our meetings, and YouTube is supported by data centers, which you do not support, then I would like to suggest that it be put on the agenda to stop airing the meetings online. Okay. That's it for me.
Mr. Culberson. Just briefly, a little response to that. I don't think anybody's saying that we don't agree with data centers. I think that's hyperbole. We're not in disagreement that we live in the era of data centers. However, just like the gentleman from the Department of Commerce said, if the local community doesn't want a data center, they should not have it shoved down their throats. And that's exactly what the point is. There's a lot of communities that probably want data centers. There's areas of the state that probably it's a better fit. But not every area of the state is a good fit. Data centers are fine. But telling local communities what to do is not.
Commissioner Stephen, I agree with you very strongly with some of those things you've just said, specifically about telling for other people. So I would like to read some comments that are online from your district. Your 5th District County Commissioner is a drama queen that starts the problem, then tells everyone he fixed it when he was the cause from the get-go. That's just half of one comment made available in the last 2 weeks in regards to you speaking for everyone in your district that has not filled out your survey. That's it for me.
Okay, and just a note, personal attacks from the Diaz are not appropriate. Is there a motion to adjourn?
No, I just have one other thing to say.
Okay.
Just because we put the moratorium, to me, that's just time to get more information. To say that we're not going to support them or not support them is still up in the air, and so I don't agree with that. I've had so much information brought to me that I'm sorry it takes a lot to do that. So my reason for that vote was just to give more time to read everything that Willie keeps asking for, and I get a copy of so I can have a chance to look at it. But it has nothing to do with that. But I have to agree, folks, there's enough problems with us and people attacking each other. You see it all over the country, and even when the audience does it, or when we're doing it to each other here, there's a level of being civil with each other that really we need to step back and take a look at. And I'll never attack any of you folks on anything like that. I just don't do it. I'll state my opinion, and if you vote with me, fine. If you don't, we'll go the next day. And I know I've made some of you mad at times, but I was elected to vote for what I think with all the information I get. So I'm never going to attack any county commissioner. It's your vote. Vote your heart and vote your conscience.
I apologize if I read a poor choice. We can just read the ones that are, he didn't send me one either. We have not received any survey. He's blocked us so we wouldn't know. I think that's probably sufficient as well, because if not everyone can see the survey.
Commissioner, we're engaging in just the type. We just said we weren't going to attack each other from the podium.
No, I mean, I'm just asking you to
again.
Be honest.
So
if
what I have, I have the floor. I have had some folks say they didn't receive the survey. Well, I placed it online, and so anybody can participate in the survey now that wants to. I also stated if you want a copy of the survey, send me an email. I'll give you a copy of the survey. It's available. It's just one tool. I'm not measuring my opinion on the data centers or any other issue based on the results of the survey. I'm also listening to my letters, my emails, personal conversations. It would have been interesting if you would have come down to Tonganoxie and been there with 150 folks that were in total opposition to this 2 weeks ago on Sunday. But you weren't there. So I just think that it's important that we all use different methods to listen to folks. Let's not attack each other because not everybody feels like those are the appropriate methods.
Are you attacking me for not being at a meeting in your district?
Guys, let's move on. Come on. This is exactly what I was talking about. Can we move on?
Yes. Is there a motion to adjourn?
No, not yet.
We're going to go to a work session afterwards.
Well,
we're going to adjourn. Okay, go ahead.
Mr. Chairman, can we a few weeks ago, you and I had this, but this is not a personal attack, trust me, that I had brought up the personal survey that you said that it was your personal survey, and you said that you would supply me with that personal survey.
Well,
and I have asked for that, and I've not seen it.
I apologize. I'll get you a copy. But yeah, I've been,
I'm kind of busy. I know you're busy. So,
and I'll tell you this. I'm just using it to measure how my community feels. I'm just trying. I mean, if you don't do a survey, it's an informal survey. It's not a scientific survey. I'm just asking people, what's your opinion? If you want to call me on the telephone, do that. It's not scientific. If we're going to do something scientific, I brought that up today. Let's have a referendum in Tonganoxie, and you will see how my community feels about the data centers.
Guys, we beat this horse to death, and we're trying to revive it now. Can we move on?
Yes, I think it's time to adjourn.
No.
Well,
Jeff.
I just got one.
Oh, go ahead.
And then I'll go. Good
I just wanted to say, being one of the last of the 3 commissioner panels, the reason we have 5 commissioners today is 100% because those 3 could not get along. And you're doing it again. We can disagree. The 5 of us can totally disagree, but you can be cordial to each other in your disagreement. So us up here arguing with each other, the public sees that, and they feel like they're not being represented well And is this the 5 they want in charge of making decisions for them if they can't even get along and be cordial to each other? So can we just stop doing that? If you want to disagree, that's fine. But don't do the personal attacks and the just being crappy to each other. We don't need that. And that's the reason we got 5 commissioners. A big waste of taxpayer dollars going from 3 to 5, in my opinion, because the 3 couldn't get along in front of the public. So stop doing that. If you want to argue behind the camera. Don't do it in front of the camera. That's disrespectful.
I have to disagree with you because
Of course you do.
there is a lot of stuff that is going on behind the scenes, and it doesn't make it any more honest. In fact, I think it makes it much more dishonest. When we have commissioners working against other commissioners, especially a chair, who is more than willing to be derogatory in public with other people present, I would love to put it in front of the camera so everyone can see.
I know you do, Vanessa.
Thank
That's
you.
my point. You think that's fine.
No, I think it's the way it should be. I'm for transparency and information and honesty.
There's a difference between transparency, though, and just being facetious.
I don't think it's facetious to read comments that he's obviously ignoring and misrepresenting.
That's your opinion, and I have mine.
Thank you.
Okay, we're going to go to something good. I had the opportunity to attend a function last week. It was for Iris Arnold. We all don't know her, and I brought it up. She started the Leavenworth Mission Food Pantry 16 years ago. What a great lady. And they had a Riverfront Community Center. They had a farewell because her husband's retiring and leaving. And I didn't know half the stuff that these folks have done to help Leavenworth County, especially Leavenworth City and Lansing and in the surrounding area, especially when COVID was going on and some people were doing it without food. So I just want to say it's one of the better ones I got to go to and honor her. Her name is Iris Arnold, and I think she's already gone or very close to it. But she was definitely going to be missed in this area for what she was doing. And that's all I had to. And I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Excuse me, would it be suitable for us to send her a letter of
I already
appreciation?
did. I did it for myself. And I give her a coin also.
You didn't even let us join you?
Well, I wanted to do a proclamation, but I couldn't do it because I had to have a week before we could do it. And Willie, I invited you. But I did give her a coin, and I thought and talked about it, and she was very appreciative. So it was a good. What I'm saying, she was a great lady, great lady.
I wanted to attend that, but unfortunate circumstances kept me from.
I heard. Pain to do that.
It was painful.
So we have a motion. Is it second? Adjourn. Okay. Voting aye.
Aye.
No.
Aye. Aye. And can we have a
We're adjourned.